Hello, everybody. What I want to do is take you through the movements of our person of interest, Charlie, that we're understanding through the pictorial codes on the October 13th, 1969 envelope of the letter that changed the history of the investigation, as it claimed that the Zodiac had killed Paul Stine, and it had a piece of his bloody shirt in the letter. But the coding on the envelope tells a different story. It tells a story of a man who was out on a night with a friend of his and some other people who almost got caught like a deer in a bear trap. What I'm going to do here is show you their movements that night based on what we were able to find in the codes. So he and a guy named Albert Lee hooked up with some flyboys from a squadron called VAQ 130, the Zappers, and it looks like they went to some strip clubs in North Beach. The Zappers got into a dogfight with some other flyboys over some girls, and then it says that Charlie took a cab downtown. We don't know what he was doing downtown, but there's a lot more clubs and strip clubs and bars. He was probably getting drunk and so on and so forth. His girl's not in town, Ellen, or she's not at home. And apparently it looks like he left Albert Lee after the fight. So like when you're out with your guy friends, you're drunk, there's a fight, you're frustrated, and you're like, okay, I'm out of here. And he's on his own. Now he's looking for something downtown. Who knows what it is? There's gay bars, there's straight bars, there's strip clubs. And then finally, the evil part of him starts to take over. And we think that he got this idea, you know what, forget all these people. I'm going to go look at Presidio Hill School about my bomb thing. He gets up there, gets out the cab, and all of a sudden he sees a guy running. He walks to the cab. He sees the dead cab driver and the blood. There's two witnesses. He tears off a piece of the shirt. He can't believe what's happening now. He tries to escape down, Cherry and Jackson to get back to Maple, sees a police car, turns around, goes through the golf course, sees the car going up the streets. He goes as high up in the Presidio as he can, comes down the coast, back down to where Golden Gate Park is, and then back to his home at 2190 Grove. So we're going to try to do that and show you how that works, okay? So here we go. We're going to go to 100 Point Naval Shipyard, because that's where these guys started out. All right. And now let's see if I can do this. We're going to try to add some more places. How would I do that? Okay, we're going to do directions. So we're going to add another site. Oh, so the starting point is going to be Hunter's Point. And then this one we're going to change to let's see, please let me change this to, all right, so now we're going to change this to the strip club. So I'm going to give you a famous strip club that was up there at that time, the Condor Club, because the Condor Club was the first club to start having totally nude. Probably very popular. There's probably other strip clubs there, but I'm sure that might have been on their list of things to do, because the Zappers were about to go to the Mediterranean cruise, which is like the Mediterranean version of Westpac, in January. So they were 2 months away from being deployed overseas. Boys are going to party. They're in town because they were on the USS Saratoga, which was in dry dock at Hunters Point. USS Saratoga is based at NAS Alameda, and it was getting service. So they're about 2 months out. Everybody's there. Everybody's in San Francisco. So then they go from there, right? So let's see, we can add another place. Let's see. Let's add another stop. All right, and so now this stop, we're going to go down to Mason and Geary, where he picked up the cab downtown. And Geary, there we go. Okay, so now we're adding that stop, right? He goes from Mason and Geary to Washington Street and Maple. Right? So he goes to Washington Street and Maple. I don't know why this thing is saying Russell House. It's not what I wanted. Washington and Maple. Well, let's do it this way. Presidio Hill School, because that's where he was actually going. Okay, so now he's going to check out Presidio Hill School because he's been drunk. He saw a fight with buddies. His girlfriend's not at home. She's on base, or she's on a boat, or she's somewhere in the Navy. And so now he's going to do his dastardly deed about putting a bomb at some school that he was thinking about, right? And then he runs into the murder. He sees somebody running. He sees the cab. Oh, it's trauma. Blood's coming out. He tears the shirt. There's 2 witnesses there. So now he has to escape. He tries to go down Cherry Street, Jackson, to get back to Maple. Sees a police car goes by, fakes like he's going to somebody's house, turns around and goes to the golf course. So now we're going to add Presidio Golf Course. Okay, so now he's in the golf course. He says in the code that he started making his way north and over to the shore. And so we're going to go to Coyote Gulch. I think that's where he was at. So now we're adding Coyote Gulch, right? And then once he gets to Coyote Gulch, right, he said he made his way down the coast. So we're going to put him at Land's End Lookout. Land's End Lookout. Okay, so now we got him at Land's End Lookout. And then the map on the envelope was showing that he made it kind of down here to Lincoln Way. So we're going to go from there to Lincoln Way in San Francisco. Right? So we got him almost home. And then finally to his house at 2190 Grove Street. Ladies and gentlemen, on the night that Paul Stine was murdered, this was the path that was traveled by Charlie, goes by Chuck, whose real name is Charles Ledge, the Zodiac Killer, who was the person of interest at Lake Berryessa, who had been seen by 6 people, all with the exact same descriptions, who stalked that area all day, who had scouted it enough all day to know that he was all alone that night, enough to park behind that one car that was left in the parking lot, spend time with his victims, try to tie up and kill 2 people, right? Leave, go to their car, take out a marker, and put a message on the door of the car, which took a while, that he specifically put in a certain way to make a code, and then quietly drive off. It couldn't just be some random person that came up there. It had to be somebody that knew they were going to be alone. this is your guy. And I'll explain the entire story again using all of the different pictorials on the envelope. But this is his night, which had to be the craziest night of his life. It scared him so bad that he also put a marriage proposal to his girlfriend on the envelope in pictorials, which is probably done by Albert Lee Terry Jr., who was a member of the Zodiac with the graphic skills, who faked his death in 1971, who may still be alive. His girlfriend's name was Ellen. She was supposedly in the Navy as a photographer's mate. There is a picture of her on the envelope. There is a drawing of a woman that resembles what we believe her to look like, and it has a megaphone to the ear, and there's a stick figure saying, like, listen, I'm about to tell you the story, and then there's a deer in a bear trap, suggesting that your guy almost got caught by accident, like a deer that accidentally stepped in a bear trap. And then it goes on to tell this story of how they hooked up with these guys, went to the North End to a strip club, because there is actually a image of a girl on a strip pole within all of this coding. That's how I know it's a strip club. And then there's also images of a dog and some people in a fight with some girls. So you get one squadron, another squadron of air boys. That's a dog fight. So that's how I know there was a fight over some girls that took place. And that's when Charlie left. So all of this is in pictures on the envelope of the October 13th letter where the Zodiac claimed responsibility for the murder of Paul Stine. He only claimed responsibility so that he could get that letter published, that envelope published, so he could communicate to all the different people that were in the Zodiac, of which 5 we believe we know of, especially his love of his life, who later became his wife and the mother of his child, right? To let her know what happened, because this is how they communicated as the Zodiac and could be able to tell the story. They know the code, they do all the pictures. You are looking at his path that evening. There you go. That's how Charlie went from just a night on the town with some boys from Hunters Point Naval Shipyard to Northern California, to where the strip club was, to downtown at Mason and Gary, over to Presidio Hills School, and then into the golf course to avoid the police going up Aguilera Boulevard, over down by the coast area, through the Presidio, comes down by the water, goes below the park, comes over on Lincoln Way, and then finally ends up back at his home at 20 Wine Grove, which was around the corner from his high school, which is now USF School of Law, but back then was St. Ignatius High School, which is a high school that he went to. That is the night of Paul Stine's murder.